Hello, everybody. As you know, we're doing something that we've done in the past, and this is quite exciting to be able to do a pre-recording. This gives an opportunity to get a lot of information out in a short period of time. And so today I'm super excited to welcome our guest, Alen Vrečko. So, hey, Alen.
Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this. Alen and I met in spiritual community, and we've been getting to know each other through a lot of spiritual work and assistance that we do together in the healing arts. And so I love his personality, how he approaches things, and he's so full of tenacity and what it's like to deconstruct, or the words he's using is de-manifest the ego, how to de-manifest the ego. And I can't wait to see. This is going to be just as much of a surprise as it is for me as it is going to be for you guys. So I just want to share a little bit about Alen. He's the author of an upcoming book on de-manifesting the ego. He started to learn more about multidimensional reality through Far Eastern energy practices, only to be left disillusioned after seeing the hypocrisy behind the structures. This has made him continue to search elsewhere for completeness. Also took a very quick peek in Western mystery tradition. So to add to his Eastern cultural experiences, he went ahead and did some deep dives in the Western mystery traditions, which I'm sure brought up all kinds of fun stuff. So he decided to share what he's learning on his journey by writing a book. And he's becoming passionate about simplifying spiritual education as a hobby. So you can find some of his work at spiritualityfortheimpatient.com. I freaking love that website name. It really sums up. I think you're going to resonate with a lot of people because it really sums up how most of us react to really understanding what spirituality really is and what it is like to step into the body and get the work done. So, all right, let's do this.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for having me, Chastity. It's a pleasure. And we will see it's quite the journey. And I'm really excited that we do this in September. We're going to find out why. And let's begin. Yeah, I wish to do a presentation on de-manifesting the ego. I wish to do a quick introduction to spirituality and self-acceptance. So first off, a bit of a disclaimer. The information presented is for entertainment purposes only. So I am not an expert. I'm just sharing my story. And the information is not to be used as advice in any form. You are reading or watching this on the basis of your free will. You are free to leave at any time. Also, seek professional help if you need it, and this is not it. So I'm just here to share my story, and yeah, that's it. So what I wish to say is the difference 1 year can make, because in September 2020, I was looping, or should I say spiraling in negative ego, and I would say I was spiritually devolving. I think that would be pretty accurate assumption. I was thinking that the planet is either going to become a transhumanist dystopia or some serious energetic shift needs to happen. And then we got the energetic shift in September 2020. I felt like there is this change in the energetic support available. And so this change made for a 180-degree turn in my spiritual evolution. So here I am, like 1 year later, I'm in the process of de-manifesting my negative ego and writing a book about it. And I think, how amazing is this?
I think it's so amazing, because if people could really look at and see the struggles, I mean, we had the pleasure of working together and being able to see where the struggles are and the looping and the spiraling like you're talking about. I love that you're talking about a transhumanist dystopia. Honestly, I keep thinking we're going that way, but then I'm sitting and looking ahead going, no, it's okay. It's okay. We're coming through this.
Yeah, I have no doubts that this timeline will not happen, because not with the amount of spiritual support we have. And what you say about my tenacity, I was like, okay, we need more support, and I think I've been like pretty tenacious about this. Like, guys, send in more support, commit more resources. What is this? But I think we can talk about this some other time, because I think I may be one of the few guys who have no issues pointing at, let's say, our higher selves and some of the guardian groups and say, hey, you guys aren't committing enough resources. What's going on? But everything is all right. Everything is evolving the way it's supposed to be. And yeah, we can talk about this some other time. And I would just want to say big thanks to you, Chastity, and also to Hermond for helping me out, because I think you're an excellent facilitator who helped me quite a lot. So it's a pleasure to be working with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I've been loving working with you too. So it's worked out. It's a big bonus all the way around. And I love Hermond. Oh my gosh. I trust him with my, that's who I go to be like, hey, check me out. What's going on here?
Oh yeah. Thank you so much for introducing me to him.
Absolutely.
So this was awesome. So about the agenda today, I thought maybe we talk a little bit what is spirituality and ascension about, because I think there may be some myths about it. And then I wish to briefly touch on unity consciousness. And then what I originally designed to talk about would be about self-acceptance. So this talk was really meant to be about self-acceptance. But then I thought about, maybe we should talk just a little bit about spirituality in general and unity consciousness. And for me, what is the key to like demanifest the ego? So far, it's proving to be three things, and that would be the self-acceptance and self-ownership and self-connection. And I hope to maybe talk about this self-ownership, self-connection some other time. But for this presentation, yeah, we will talk about self-acceptance, because for me, this self-acceptance was really like the thing that like cracked the casing of the ego. Like this made for the biggest change. And I wish to talk about it the most. And firstly, before we begin, I would just like to say a few words about discernment. Always a good reminder, because maybe some of the newcomers will maybe look at this video, because I feel like preaching to the choir right now about this, but always ask yourself, is it in alignment for me to be reading or watching this? Is this in resonance? Does it feel right? I recommend following your heart resonance versus mental criteria. This is something that I had to learn myself. I think maybe for some people this comes naturally, but especially I think maybe for more mentally inclined people, it's something new. Also, I wish to mention that there is no one-stop shopping place for spiritual education. So take a few pieces here and continue meeting new people and websites. So it's a lot more fun this way anyway. That's, yeah.
I agree. And it keeps you in check. It keeps you on top of learning more about discernment and learning more about how we take the mental aspects of self and how we can transfer that into not focusing on how that's coming in all the time mentally. So when you're talking about discernment, there are like and the ego going through these parts of the body, and I'm sure you'll go through them, the unconscious, instinctual, and conscious mind. Those are our mental, that's that mental chatter, and it's really, really hard to get out of that. And the no one-stop shop is important, because you could hear the exact same thing from somebody else, but it doesn't resonate. And then you go to another website or another person says the same thing and you go, oh my gosh. And it just has to do with their vibration, their resonance. So I love that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And also like their structure, they have a different structure, a different system, because I think that's a bit danger to have like a structured system, because like how our education system is done, everything's about structure, like having some sort of a formula. But going with resonance, you just don't have like a structured approach. But yeah, so take what resonates and scroll past what doesn't. So yeah. So what I'm sharing is my truth. it might or might not be accurate or applicable to you at this time, or ever for that matter. And that is all right. And that is perfectly all right.
Yeah. That's
And yeah. Wow, this is awesome. So I wish to give a quick example. Like, for example, when we are shopping for a product, let's say we are at the tea section at the store. Now, instead of trying to select one based on reviews, we can just try to feel which product we are drawn to. Like an example, I was at the store and I felt like I should get this Longworth tea for some reason. And I was like, why would I want to buy this tea? And then I remember, like you mentioned it again in your Patreon site, like, oh, get this tea, it's very good. And I was like, well, the universe is trying to tell me something.
Isn't that funny? That's one of the things that we use to like learn our yes and no, you know, put something in your hand or just think about it. Is this good for my body? Yes or no. And like see how your body reacts. That's a really, really good exercise.
Oh yeah, this is for me a new experience because I guess I'm a bit by education and stuff. I'm an engineer, so I'm used more of like this mental approach. Okay, which is like the highest reviewed item and what is like the best, like on the mental level. So not about if I would go to the store, yeah, you just like read the reviews and stuff like that, but not go with your heart resonance. So this is a new experience for me in a way. Also, I wish to give this example because this applies to more serious stuff, such as, because picking a tea, it's not such a big deal as it's a big deal of like picking a facilitator. For example, if you're stuck, or maybe you're seeing some things, maybe you're seeing some objects in your body and you think maybe I'm going crazy, and then maybe you would want to talk to someone. And I think it's a great idea to pick like maybe a facilitator to help you sort some of this stuff out. So in that case, the first facilitator I ever picked, again, was like total mind, because, okay, while this person is like well-respected, reputable, good credentials, good reviews, everything, oh, I should pick it. While in my heart resonance, I felt like, if I were to pick it from just the heart-based resonance, I would pick somebody else for sure. But the mental mind was like, oh, but this person is like the top rated one, something like this. Mm-hmm. And surprise, surprise, it wasn't, I would say, a good fit for me. And the session was like you know, it was quite interesting.
It is quite interesting when people go in and do stuff to your light body and you're like, well, what the hell just happened? Now I got to put myself back together again.
But for sure, this was a great learning experience for me. So looking back, I'm like, wow, this was actually very cool. So also the bad experiences we have, they're actually good because everything can serve us in a positive way if we allow it to. Yeah. And I would say it's designed this way. So I wouldn't miss that facilitator, not a chance. So if I would go back in time, I would probably do it again, probably. No, what I'm saying is that I'm totally cool the way things unfolded. So because for a different pick of a facilitator, like on the mental level, I got a whole lot of red flags. Like you should not work with this person because of this list of reasons. But on the resonance level, it felt right. So I went for it despite all the red flags from the mental mind, and it's working out great. So I am very glad that I trusted my resonance, and I'm talking about you.
Oh dear, thank you.
Yeah, because when I saw you on that Truth Pulse podcast about the Megiddo battle, like the moment that all the four persons came up and I saw you like on the lower left, and I was like, who is this person? I need to get in touch. Like the resonance was like, I would say off the charts. So I was like, I'm very glad that I didn't listen to my mental mind who was going like, you shouldn't go with this person, because like the heart resonance was there.
It's amazing what our mental mind does to us. What the ego provides us is not generally going to benefit us in any way. So I love that you are able to recognize the session work, the healing work that you wouldn't go back and change it, because you learned how then. It was like the learning that needed to express to happen from the heart center, from the emotional piece. And so dropping from that mental mind into the heart, you learned how to do that. And it was drastic. I mean, what had happened was pretty dramatic. And then adding, the mental frustration and frequency on top of that, and you made it out. I think that's amazing. Not easy for people to do, because you can continue to spiral down. So thank you for trusting me.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for being here, for being a way shower. So wow, awesome.
Yeah.
So now I wish to talk a little bit of what is spirituality about. I think spirituality is not about going somewhere or receiving something. It is about us becoming who we authentically are. We get to expand our consciousness here and now. We get to experience more of what is already here. As we internally change, our external will change as well, because our external world is in a way just an extension of our own body.
Wow. And I don't know if you've noticed this in your own body, Alen, but as we begin to shift and change, and our shields, like our protection, shifts and changes, I've been noticing that my body looks like the stars. So I feel more like the universe. And when you say our external world, in a way, is an extension of our own body, it's interesting, because it takes me past my own house and children and all that stuff. And it just takes me right out into my environment, the vastness of the universe, and realizing how we really are these little microcosms of the macrocosm. And that's what happens when you expand your consciousness. We're so massive. We are so massive.
Yeah. So now I wish to say a few things about dimensions, because dimensions are not places or locations. They're levels of consciousness that vibrate at a certain rate. And each dimension vibrates at a higher rate than the one below it. In each higher dimension, there exists a clearer, wider perspective of reality, a greater level of knowing. We experience more freedom, greater power, and more opportunity to create our reality. I found this as an uncredited Facebook share, and I think it's great to mention this, because we so think about going somewhere and stuff. And yeah, this work is not about going somewhere. It's about changing our minds. Wow. Because I think this level of consciousness we can attain corresponds to our DNA activation. When we talk about embodiment level and degree of consciousness expansion, we're talking basically about how much of also our DNA is activated and stuff. So I'm still struggling in the 4D. I have some stuff to clear there before my consciousness will expand some more, but it's a process. We're all here and having this process. For example, etheric implants, they are here and now. They're not in some other room. So with some DNA activated, we can perceive them. Yes. So in terms of my higher sensory perception and embodiment, I could at times perceive some etheric implants and yeah. So, but with a whole lot more DNA repaired and activated, we can shift our reality altogether, go on a different planet in a different body. It's all here and now. It's not out there.
And so are you having experiences when, are you having 3D experiences from activated DNA from, say, fourth dimension or fifth dimension, sixth dimension, or do you feel like you're still really stuck in the 4D? Because I don't know, I view you as seeing beyond 4D. Yeah, sure, there's some stuff that needs to be cleared up and stuff, but how are you perceiving, because if you're seeing etheric implants, right, that's most people don't see etheric implants right away, in a fourth dimensional consciousness. So I see that a little bit higher.
Yeah, I'm still cleaning up the 4D because I took quite a lot of, I guess, DNA damage there. So,
Stumper. I gave you a stumper. We can talk about that later.
Yeah. Also, when somebody questions like, where are most of the ETs? I think they're here and now, but on a different level of consciousness.
Yes, yes.
So do you maybe, you like see them and stuff?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see them all the time, but I work, I do planetary grid work. And, when I'm working in, like when we do sessions or, sessions with other people, we see versions of the higher self. So yourself in another dimension. And sometimes the body doesn't look the same, might have different color skin or a different face. Most everything most everything that I've experienced is some type of humanoid, like 2 arms, 2 legs, a head and a body. But not always. And then sometimes when we go higher than that, it's more of sound and light frequencies. So sometimes light orbs, but the consciousness that comes in that orb is like, it's indescribable. There's no words that you can put with what consciousness is or what other beings are, especially when they're traveling into our realm of comprehension and understanding, because even they have to, let's say, we're talking to the Emerald Order, who is like a 48 strand being, and they have to step down to the 18th dimension. So they have to step down their consciousness quite significantly for us to, work with them as close as we can to having our consciousness accessing. We can go higher than that, but you know what I mean? Like they have to step down quite significantly. The way the planets shift and the opening up of dimensional aspects comes in. I hope that answered your question, but
it did totally, yeah. And also to answer, I guess, your question, I'm not at that point yet. I did have one dream sometime when I just remember maybe 3 seconds of like talking to some being, then that dream was like cut off. So, but the point I'm making to our listeners is that this spiritual work is not about us going somewhere like physically, like that some ET ship will land physically here and we will like shake hands and then they will like take us someplace else. It doesn't work that way. It's all about doing our work here now, and then we get to experience more of the reality that's already exists. We're basically just uncovering the layers of reality. And our DNA suffered a lot of damage and regressions and invasions, like both spiritual and physical, by these negative oppositional forces. So we are here to heal this. Also, we are in a dark age, so it's not supposed to be fun and easy. A calm sea never made for a great sailor, but it's not supposed to be impossible either. So that's why, because in September 2020, last year, I was like, wow, the game is made unwinnable. Like no matter which option we take, it's not going to happen. And then the shift happened and I was like, okay, yeah, it's all good. Now the game is made winnable. Now let's do this.
I'm so grateful. It's like we get bombarded with one thing after another. I forget what movie it is, but the more we can get addicted to coming back in as a spirit and staying in the ego, we can get addicted to the ego, because this is where lust and greed and addiction, all these things, they put things out there like, alcohol, pornography, football games, all these things, they hit those low vibrational egoic frequencies, and it's really easy to stay there and just think that you have a perfectly fantastic life. And then nobody actually.
But then your higher self intervenes and you have maybe like a car crash or something like this. And then maybe you start like, thinking about stuff like this. Yeah.
Yes. How did we bring this? How did I bring this accident into my life? What in the world happened? Why would I have done that? And so this is when it really starts to hit you and go, well, I wouldn't create that kind of trauma for myself. And it's like, wow, you've been creating it your whole life. You know, it's like, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you did this to yourself, my friend.
Oh yeah, and I know especially a lot of anti-patterns, like why would God do this to me? And like God can shove this reality up his. I was a lot of looping in that kind of area that we will see later on. Mm-hmm. So wow, this is awesome. But I feel like this is really like the ultimate like self-mastery course right here on earth, like becoming the masters of polarity. I think it's great. Like I was like very much, I guess, angry about this, but now I'm starting to slowly appreciate the learning that we can do here.
Beautiful.
So how do we repair our DNA? How do we expand our consciousness? How do we ascend? How do we embody more of our soul essence? How do we become more authentically ourselves? Now, for me, this is all the same question. And I think it starts with demanifesting, like demanifesting the negative ego, then demanifesting quite a lot of emotional trauma and miasma, also stuff like soul fragmentation. We have quite a lot of this here. So, and this allows for the DNA to be repaired, returned if needed, and activated, which will in turn expand our consciousness. So this will then allow us, like you're saying, you can see like beings, you can go on trips on like different planets and stuff. And yeah. So also want to mention this, all the love that ever existed is here already.
Yeah.
We just don't see it, we just don't feel it. Not until we demanifest some DNA imprints and embody more of our soul essence.
I'm reading something you wrote here. When you mention a God-forsaken person, you mentioned that before. Why has God forsaken me? And this is, you know, one of the things we just talked about. Why has God forsaken me? And it's we are a part or a particle of God or of the universe, or however you want to say that. And it's the question to ask is, why have I forsaken myself? Why have I fallen so far away from myself? And which in turn brings us back to the heart center once we get there, which opens us up into healing the DNA, repairing the DNA, and opening up the channels, the mathematical channels, being electromagnetic, multidimensional beings, and these open up to the God worlds, which are the higher levels of consciousness, and then we become an embodiment of God. So interesting that you say that.
Yeah, exactly like that. So yeah, we could feel right now as the most loving and loved person in existence, or as the most depressed and God-forsaken person that ever walked the face of the earth. But our level of embodiment has a whole lot to do with this. And I think in your case, like for example, after getting at a certain level of with this work, we don't get to levitate or walk on water. I think we did plenty of this in our past lives. And then we get to help others and the planet to do the same. I think this is a whole lot more fulfilling.
Yes, I agree. I'm still, I'll still try to walk on water. I don't care. I'm going to give it a shot, but it doesn't.
Oh yeah, for sure. And try to walk through walls. I think you mentioned you want to walk through walls. I think, yeah.
I can't even bend a fork. There are so many people that can already bend forks, and I'm like, I can't even do that. But you know, it's about really understanding the particles and how you are a particle and all these pieces, and that really takes a level of concentration that I just don't seem to have yet. But one day I'm going to walk through walls. I know that I've listened to people who have been part of like satanic rituals, and like they're manifesting in a demon, and they've done stuff to like close the portal. And I think it was Jessie Sabar or Sabater, I don't know how to say her last name very well, was talking about this, and a demon actually got stuck like in the floor from coming through portals. So we can actually see these things happen, in our world, but
yeah.
you still
I
have
was
to have the mind to see it.
Oh, but in terms of physical stuff, I was pretty impressed. Let me just. I want to turn the light on. So.
Okay.
Maybe it's a little better. I have need to do some more of lighting stuff in my apartment. But yeah. Oh yeah, this is an excellent topic that you bring up, because when I was, I guess, even like in childhood, I was saying that I want to go to China to become like a Taoist master, because I believe that guys can like manifest stuff in the 3D.
Yeah.
And I've also seen some demonstration that it was actually in Europe, not in China, by a Western guy who could like modify physical reality through consciousness power alone. And I was very attracted to this kind of stuff. But then when I saw the structures behind it, I was like, I'm fine. No, thank you.
What comes attached to a lot of that when you're not,
exactly.
When you don't understand how energy works, if you don't understand how the soul and spirit work, it's a big no thank you.
Yeah, because this guy who can actually do some crazy stuff in 3Ds, they are all enmeshed with this, I would say, like moon chain lineages, and not some very, not the people. Okay, also one story I can share, because I was pretty big into Qigong, and I remember being on this webinar, and I asked the master, like, you're always like praising your master, and are you like spiritually free person, or are you like indebted to this master? And he got very upset pretty quickly, like, no, he's helping me through love. And he got very like emotional and stuff about this stuff. So I was like, I'm pretty sure that guy is not spiritually free person, because yeah.
That doesn't feel like a love resonance.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this is also part of our training here, to see, to learn about this stuff. Yeah. And it took me quite a while, or maybe not, to unenmesh myself from this stuff with this the moon chain lineages, and also the Bayesian grid stuff. It's pretty. Looking back, it's pretty interesting, to say the least. But the authentic spiritual work we are doing, we are God, we are sovereign, and we are free. We are free beings. Yeah. So when we choose to travel somewhere, we don't owe any debts to anyone. Yeah. And I would very much prefer to be quote unquote poor man here and be spiritually free, than to manifest, let's say, a gold-plated something, but then my spirit and soul would be in bondage to some spirits.
Yes, it's awful. Being in bondage or in any type of binding to anything that is outside of 100% pure Christ consciousness is literally hell. And that's what it's like living in and from an ego space. You're still enmeshed and kind of bound into those frequencies. Yeah, it's not fun.
Also, but it all starts with demanifesting the ego. If we want to be spiritually free, we need to start with demanifesting the ego and a whole lot of trauma and stuff. And I love this entry from Ascension Glossary. I think it's called Responsible Co-Creation and DNA. It says, before learning responsible co-creation and manifesting skills, each individual must first learn how to demanifest undesirable or negative patterns that have been recorded in the cellular memory of their DNA imprint. Activating higher DNA imprints does not happen unless the consciousness is willing to participate and explore the clearing release of previously recorded memories or fear-based thoughts or low-frequency content, such as trauma and miasma. And then I trimmed some stuff to the end. And it is DNA that is wholly responsible for the manifestation of external reality, which clearly reveals why there has been an ongoing spiritual war to suppress and damage organic angelic human DNA.
I love this.
And I love this too. And I think this like sums it up pretty succinctly. What exactly are we doing here as quote unquote spiritual people? Like we are here to, I guess, rehabilitate our DNA.
Yes, rehabilitate it and activate it.
Yeah, and all the masters, like we talk about, let's say the Luciferians, the Satanics, the Eastern masters, the Western masters, they can manifest some stuff, but they're not manifesting from a sense of responsible co-creation.
Right.
So that is not a space or place we want to manifest from.
And there's a timeline on it and a consequence. And generally it's soul siphoning or, you know, soul bondage, you know, something that you end up not ever being able, well, it's very challenging to recover from. So.
Yeah. So I read this story about Golden Buddha. When I first learned about it, I thought this is a made up story. But this is actually a real story, and you can read more about it on Wikipedia. Basically, a monastery had like a huge 5.5-ton golden statue of Buddha. I would say that's maybe a bit excessive. Also, I'm not a fan of statues.
They're a little creepy.
Yeah. And I think sometimes they also put like a real person in there, but yeah, it's pretty creepy sometimes. Anyway, out of fear from getting stolen by enemy army, the monks covered it with plaster material. And over many, many years, the monks forgot it got covered. So they thought they have a stone statue. Like, oh, it has always been this way, it's tradition. Like now when they moved the statue to be relocated, some 200 years later, a piece of plaster chipped away to reveal the gold. And so the story is like, we are the golden Buddha. And symbolically, this can represent our original organic angelic human DNA. But we are covered with a whole lot of yucky stuff, and we are covered with a whole lot of fear, and some of our gold got stolen.
That's beautiful. I'm going to have to find that story and read it, because and I've always loved the energy of what Buddha represents outside of the religion, of course. But, you know, just the representation of peace, tranquility, you know, the actual ideas of how I, you know, doing good to people, all the way down to the bugs, the earth, everything. So, and we are so golden inside, right? We just had the awakening of the golden body this year. What? I think that's so cool. I think that is so cool.
Yeah, me too. But yeah, we already are this golden Buddha. We just need to remember. Like, I love how you say we are here to remember who we truly are. And the fact is, when we are born in this mind control system. And from, I would say, even before we are born, everybody tells us, oh, you're a stone Buddha, you're a stone Buddha, you're a stone Buddha. But that is not true.
You're a golden Buddha.
Yeah. And from all the slides, this would be one of the top picks, because here I just put it like how to ascend explained for the impatient. Like on the bottom, it's like the foundation, and this is like demanifesting the negative ego. And this is about, in my experience, this is about realigning our perceptions and beliefs away from being based on the concept of separation or fear, to be based on the concept of unity or oneness, love. Now, this is like then chipping away the plaster from the Buddha. And then next up, we get to demanifest emotional trauma and miasma. This is quite heavy stuff. And this is about us becoming proficient at psychology. And I think everybody can benefit from learning some psychology. Maybe that's like inner child healing, psychoanalysis, mindfulness. There is a lot of stuff there. Whatever is in resonance for you. Again, like in the beginning, we said you shouldn't get like a psychology book because it's top rated. It gets like 5 stars. You should get the psychology book that even if it has 2 stars, but if you feel drawn to it, then that is the book for you.
Yeah.
And the second part would be becoming, I would call multidimensionally proficient, like commanding cosmic sovereign law, revoking contracts and revoking consent, about multidimensional shielding, about knowing how to remove etheric implants, know how to reclaim stolen pieces, like return to rightful owner and stuff like that. And to this, I would just say it's perfectly fine to ask for help in the form of, let's say, a facilitation while you're learning more about this stuff.
Yes, I agree. I want to add, no, keep going.
Okay, yeah, I'll just finish with like this work. When we demanifest this ego stuff and a whole lot of emotional trauma and miasma, we can then embody more of our true self, more of our consciousness gets more online. And this is where we get to like say hello to ETs and travel to different planets and stuff like that. But like you're saying, we need to meet halfway. So we can go to, let's say, 18D until we demanifest a whole lot of stuff here. And I would say that this work, like demanifesting the ego and emotional trauma and miasma, for me, this started to become a lot of fun. Like, like in the beginning stages, it was like, what have I done to deserve this stuff? But now it's like, okay, looking back, well, yeah, it's kind of perversely fun. Yeah, but yeah. So
I think the hardest part, Alan, is getting past the what have I done to deserve this? I didn't do anything. Why doesn't it just stop? Where is our help? How am I going to do this by myself? And then, that's like that first stop the pink section you're talking about, realigning your perceptions. So taking personal responsibility, that begins to separate you from fear. And you took personal responsibility. You thought, all right, you know what? This other way wasn't working. I'm going to just go ahead and take a look at this just for shits and giggles. And then your body starts to go, oh, and it starts to move more into ease, more into alignment. And I remember when we talk about demanifesting, you're bringing up demanifesting emotional trauma and miasma. I used to always think I wanted to be a writer, but I thought, I can't be a writer, or I can't, or that I wanted to teach. And I would fight myself on it, saying, how am I going to do that? There are so many people out there, better writers. They know more about a topic. They're going to be better teachers than me, or they are better teachers than me. And, it just was more chipping away at that plaster. And I had a client one time when I was doing hands-on work, and he was an author. Him and his wives were authors of several books together and individually. And he said to me, you never know if what you say has been said by another person, but is better understood by somebody the way you wrote it than if somebody else wrote it. And so basically what he was telling me is the same thing we said earlier when we were chatting about this, is you don't know if the constructs, the architecture is different in that person. It doesn't matter if they say the exact same thing that somebody else did, because it's all the same information. There's only so much information out there. It's going to be regurgitated no matter how you look at it, because we all have access to the exact same consciousness. But that's what moves you, into that, and then realizing, oh my gosh, I can get help from anywhere, anyone that resonates with me, as well as I can share the information that I have, which is exactly what you're doing. I love this. I like your chart.
Thank you. Yeah, me too. I love this. And yeah, I just want to say 2 things. First, there is also the resonance behind the words, because I feel like you can say, even if you insult someone, like if the word would be like insulting, but if the resonance behind it isn't malicious, then they land totally different than if there is malintent behind the words.
Exactly. If you don't charge if you don't charge them, or you're very mindful about the frequency put out. You could be mad and not ready to not say something unkind, but you can at least uncharge it, right? And then one more step of like of clearing the ego. I think that's a good call.
Yeah, and I would say that our beliefs create our reality quite substantially.
Yes.
Like, for example, I have a very strong belief that I don't have headaches. So basically, I think yesterday or the day before, I woke up with a bit of a headache, and I was like, in this belief, it's like, I can't have a headache. This shouldn't happen. I don't have headaches. So it went away pretty quickly and stuff. So I have headaches basically two days per year. And the whole day I'm like in disbelief. How could I have a headache? So this is, beliefs. And I also believe that we should have access to the most refined and well written and good like teachings. Mm-hmm. And this is, I'm seeing that how this belief system like manifested in my reality, because when I perceived the etheric implants, I practically very quickly, I discovered like Ascension Glossary, like practically very fast. And I also remember when I was with this Qigong instructor, we're like friends, and he said, Alen, it took me 15 years to find these guys, these masters. And you just waltz right in here and you get access to these guys like right away. So, but I would say that this is like my belief system that if I want to learn something, I want to learn from the best. And this is having an effect on reality, because I think our belief system is very, our belief system is what I would say also creates our reality quite substantially.
Yeah, that's very accurate. It's very accurate. You get what some of those old things you bring about what you think about.
Yeah. Wow, this is awesome. So let me just go close my window. I just noticed I have like my window open and I'm like, why is it getting colder? I'm like, okay, yeah.
Oh, it's dark. It's late where you are.
Okay. Wow. The time is great for me. Like 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's like 7 p.m. for me. So this is excellent time for me.
That's so time. 10 a.m. for me. 10 a.m. Pacific.
Yeah, 10 a.m. Yeah. I think so. Thank you for indulging me because 3 p.m. I think the quality of the presentation wouldn't be so well.
I agree. It's not good to do this kind of work when we're tired.
Yeah. Wow. Now let's talk about unity consciousness.
Yeah.
I think when I look at some of the physicists, I think they're pretty deep. They're like pretty deep in philosophy, and I wouldn't say like religion, but more like consciousness work. Like, for example, this guy, Albert Einstein, he said this. When you look at these guys, like let's say Albert Einstein and some other people, like there is a lot of quotes online, and some of them are like, I would say like mistranslations and misquotes. So I like to get to look at the originals. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, this I found some article when some guy actually went to see the original stuff and yeah, like you can see actually letters, like the letters that Einstein wrote that were correspondences, and I think that is awesome. And then some of that stuff, and then some of that stuff gets like put online, and some of that stuff gets then a bit changed when it goes online. So I just want to point it out. Like, I just want to point out that this is not like an accurate translation. This is just, I think, translation from some of his work. But I just love it. It says a human being is a spatially and temporally limited piece of the whole, what we call the universe. He experiences himself and his feelings as separate from the rest, an optical illusion of his consciousness. The quest for liberation from this bondage or illusion is the only object of true religion. Not nurturing the illusion, but only overcoming it gives us the attainable measure of inner peace.
Wow. Wow. Wow, you can sit with that for so long.
Wow. Yeah.
I know.
And I would urge our listeners to do this, because when I was starting with this spiritual work, and I'm like, this is actually it, what you do. You just like read some of this stuff, and then you just like try to feel it, meditate on this stuff. Like this is like part of the, I would say this is part of the awakening process.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think this is a lot better than maybe getting all caught up in the news, what's in the news. I think maybe, or at least balance the time with the news with kind of this work.
Yes. I love the piece about bondage that he writes about, and it being the only true religion, the quest for liberation from this bondage or illusion, understanding that, you know, we're in a holographic reality is the only object of true religion. That is really sitting with me. And I'm going to, after this, go back to that and sit on that, because this is actually a little bit triggering for me, Alen, because the word religion like triggers all of my senses. And it's like danger, danger, danger. But that's not what he's saying. But I find it very curious that that it triggers me that way. So that's something that I want to sit on and feel, because it's a quest for liberation. And thank you for this, because you've given me some homework to do.
Awesome. I'm very happy for this, like, because I think this is what we do, like we trigger each other. I think this is part of the what spiritual communities are also about triggering people. And
yes,
then,
I love it. I love triggers. That's what I say. I like to watch people chatting and talking. And, you know, when we can feel the energy signatures behind words and how people respond. And I just go, oh, look at all the triggers. This is so fun. And I don't mean it in a crazy way. I just think it's so great to watch the growth and to see, hey, now you've just, a trigger to me is like somebody just brought light into your body, light into your DNA structures and into your memories. And now you have an opportunity to see it, and you get to like grow from there into the next step. And I just think that it's beautiful.
wow, that is so awesome. Wow, beautifully said. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And to continue with the quotes, I should say the overall number of minds is just one.
Perfect.
And this is from Erwin Schrödinger, a quantum physicist. And this is like exactly from the book. Like I linked a lot of the stuff in my presentation. I'll put the slides up on my page, and we can link it. We can link the slides so people can like also click on the links. And yeah, because I should say mind is just one, because online we can also find this. The total number of minds in the universe is one. In fact, consciousness is a singularity phasing within all beings.
Yes. Yes.
This is a misattribution to Schrödinger. He didn't write this stuff, but it then gets a bit, I would say, enhanced by the internet. So
Mm-hmm. It's like playing that game Telephone. You know, that somebody, I don't know, maybe you didn't play that, but
yeah, I didn't.
Yeah. So it's like there's like 5 people in a row, and one person whispers a word or a sentence. And then the next person whispers it to the next person, and the next person says it to the next person. It's all whispered. And then the last person that hears it stands up and says what the first person said. And almost always it's something completely different than what was said to begin with. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Oh, now I want to mention this. an individual is an individuated expression of a unified whole. Each individual can either believe this to be true or not.
And it doesn't make a lick of difference, because whether I believe that I'm of one consciousness doesn't change the fact that it's truth.
Yeah, but I think our belief system creates our reality, as we will see here. I love this. This is called Mandelbrot Fractal. I also linked a YouTube video.
Oh, cool.
Like, for example, this here on the left, on the lower left, we can see like this one structure. And we could say like this is the ocean. And then on the right, when we see so many different things, because all of this stuff, it's actually inside this one single thing.
Wow.
So these are all just individuated expression of this unified whole. And all of this stuff that we see here is the result of like one math equation. So there is one math equation that actually is responsible for all of this.
Wow. And look at how beautiful.
Yeah. And now here comes with the belief system. Like, for example, let's say we can pick like the first one, like, oh, it looks, I love the colors, beautiful. And now this is like an individuated expression of the unified whole. But this thing could actually believe that nobody loves me, I'm all alone, life doesn't make any sense. And that is a valid belief. And sadly, that belief is going to affect how this thing evolves and expresses itself. So I think it's also very important to be mindful of this stuff. And this is why how we change our beliefs with also our meditation and also our life experience. Like, we get to change our beliefs. Like, I also felt a bit like God forsaken and stuff like this. So I think it's just part of the evolution.
It is. It is. And we all go through it. I don't know one single person that hasn't had to experience feeling loved. I guess we could say it's something, it's a trauma we all come in with.
Yeah, and I think it's great when we get to integrate this in the wholeness of all it is, and then we're like, oh yeah, it's just an experience. So, so yeah, I also linked a YouTube video here. So when you can click on it, you can like zoom, or you can just go on YouTube and search for Mandelbrot Fractal.
Awesome. And this will be on your website?
Yeah, the slides will be.
Perfect.
And now I wish to say this, yeah, we are the drop in the ocean. We are the ocean in the drop, but we are the ocean itself as well. So, and I think that is amazing.
That is amazing. The entire ocean is in one drop of water.
Also, for our listeners, I want to say about this, the power of the drop. Do not underestimate the power of cleaning your drop of the ocean, like all this negative ego structure, emotional traumas, miasma, and so on, because you cannot have a clean ocean if the drops are not clean. So, and by doing this work, we are in fact helping others. So I'm not saying that we don't help others, but help others when help is requested and in alignment, or you feel guided to help, but otherwise, keep on cleaning your drop.
I love that. Alen, how do you overcome the idea? Because we talk about being of service to self or of service to others. And I think that some people have looked at cleaning themselves up, cleaning themselves. If I'm just working on me, well, then I'm being selfish and not thinking about anybody else. How would you express that being an actual of service to others instead of a service to self?
Wow, great that you brought that up. I think that this unity consciousnus explains it. Like, we're all part of this single mind. If it is in the best interest of this single mind to have healthy, happy individuals. So if we are ourselves depressed, we feel in low vibration, how are then we supposed to help others? How is then the ocean supposed to feel good? So my own, I guess, mentality would be, I guess, happy individuals make for a happy collective. So it's perfectly fine that we work on ourselves, on cleaning our negative ego and our emotional traumas and also miasmas. And I think this should be made more apparent when we look into self-acceptance. So, and to this, I would also say, yeah, like help others, because a lot of the times when help is not requested or help is not warranted, we can actually be a bit of detrimental, not maybe to that person, but in any case, it would be, let's say, a waste of our time, and it wouldn't be like an equal value exchange, like, for example. So I think it goes again to the resonance. Like, if we feel like drawn that we need to help here, then by all means help here. Like, there's so many good people who just start some projects, like they start some, I don't know, start making some wells in Africa or something like this, because they felt drawn to it. They felt like resonance, like, oh, this is my mission. I need to go to Africa and make water wells there or something like this. So that is it felt guided to. But if you see somebody who's in ego and say, oh, I'm going to help that guy because, oh, Alen, you're in ego. Let me tell you what exactly are you doing wrong. So that I would say wouldn't be a good, it wouldn't be an equal value exchange or something like this.
I love that you bring that up. There's a difference between volunteering help planetarily and for a community versus volunteering your help unwarranted to a human being. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And this here takes experience. So nobody's born like all-knowing. So we make a lot of mistakes and we learn this way, but by making mistakes. And I would say that the only tragedy is if we keep on looping and if we keep on doing the same mistakes. I think that would be like the biggest tragedy. But I think there is so much learning opportunity in this, especially in the bad things. Like, we learn so much from bad things.
Yes, we do. Like how not to be. A lot of people have decided, instead of like they're raised a certain way, they could blame their parents for their lack in life, or they can go back and say, well, because I was raised this way, I've chosen to be something different. Now I know what doesn't work. And not very many people take on that mentality. So.
Oh yeah, I would love to talk about the parenting and how it's all our parents' fault. And I think that fits beautifully for the self-ownership.
Oh, good, yeah.
That will fit beautifully, because I was there as well. Like, oh, it's my, I would say it's my parents' fault that I don't feel loved, so they need to correct it. So it's their fault. Yep. Yeah, they need to fix it.
They need
because
to
they broke it.
Yeah.
They need to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is I would say that is a valid belief system, but it is wrong. It doesn't work.
It doesn't.
Wow, this is beautiful. At our individual personality level, I think ascension is in a large part also about realigning our perceptions and beliefs to be based on a sense of oneness.
Beautiful.
And in my experience, this realignment process starts with self-acceptance.
That's challenging for people. That's very, very hard for people to accept every piece about them, every flaw, every wrinkle, every mark, every word they've ever said. That's really challenging.
Yeah, but it's a multi-layered process, and it takes time. Like, for example, we can accept just some parts of our past, but not the rest, and that is perfectly fine. This is not an overnight process. It's not like, oh, I'm going to become self-accepting. That means that tomorrow I will accept 100% of the things. It doesn't work that way. It takes time. It takes many years, or let's say, or at least many months and stuff. Yeah. So yeah. So so how are we with time? Because I really wanted to talk about self-acceptance.
No, we're good. I want to finish this. You know, we're just a little over an hour, so I think we're doing good.
So because originally I said, oh, I want to talk about self-acceptance, and now I feel like this will be maybe another half an hour or something. So
Yeah. Do you want to pause and then meet again another time, or do you want to just keep going? I'm okay either way.
um, a good question. How about maybe a compromise? Maybe we talk for 10 minutes about this and then we continue next time.
That sounds good to me. That sounds good to me. That gives us an open field and another opportunity to chat. So that's good.
Beautiful. Wow. I'm loving this. I was a bit afraid that it would be just me talking, but
I'm a jabberjaw.
This is awesome. So yeah, about self-acceptance. Yeah, let's let's begin. Like after 1 hour, like self-acceptance. For me, self-acceptance is about viewing everything that exists as a valid expression of all that is, of which we are an individuated expression of. And I absolutely love this image. And I think it will make a lot of sense also to our listeners, also especially when we talk some more about this stuff. Because like that guy on top who's running away from that thing, like that was me. And then we have a much better approach, like on the bottom row, like with self-acceptance, except instead of running away from some stuff, we just like face it, say, hello, what are you doing? How about a hug? Let's figure things out. And then that is, that changes everything.
It does. It's that blob of everything is all of what fear represents, fear being the lowest vibration of emotions, but with fear comes everything: guilt, shame, sadness, anger. All these things get wrapped up, and it turns into this big bundle of, this looks like it's a, part bundle of rocks and part like smoke entity, right? And there are entities entwined in there and all kinds of stuff. And then, yeah, I love this because it's like, maybe if I take a look at it, it's not going to be as bad as I thought, because I was really being strangled and suffocated and I can't breathe, and the way I was going about isn't working. I love this approach because when we allow ourselves to look at fear in the eyes, face to face, we realize it's just an expression of self. It's just something that we hadn't dealt with yet. And so we turn around and say, okay, you've been here for a while now. How can we work together? What do you want? What are you trying to say to me? And it's going to more often than not say, I just want to be loved. I want you to see me. I want a hug. And then pretty soon you've got a little tiny bit of fear you can just pop in your little pocket and eventually it'll just completely clear up and integrate and express itself sometimes, but only when you choose to. Only when you choose to allow it to express. Beautiful picture.
Yeah, I loved it. And yeah, beautifully said. Yeah, for me, this blob would be like addiction. Like I will talk about, I guess, some other time about my strugglings with addiction. And it was the self-acceptance that in my experience, like 80% of it just like fall off. Yeah. When instead of trying to run away from it, deny it, or play with this, I have some slides in the future that I call slay the beast mentality. Like, oh, we need to fight this, but then 80% of it just falls off, like exactly what you're saying. These parts, also the inner child, just wants to be seen, acknowledged, loved, and yeah, and then isn't that amazing? Like you can do 80% of emotional trauma healing just by accepting things.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I think this is a good place. Wow. 80%, that's massive, because that can happen in a moment, like in a minute, in a moment, when you just go, wait, what? All I have to do is accept this and say, it's okay that I'm addicted. It's okay that I've done these things, but now I'm going to work to change that. That is massive. That's powerful.
Oh yeah, I've came through this. I guess I came up with this. You cannot heal what you do not accept about yourself. Mm-hmm. Like I learned this the hard way, and I think this is really like where ego demanifestation starts. Like you cannot do much progress if you don't accept something about yourself.
Yeah.
And I learned this. What triggered me and what made the aha moment was actually this from Ermont, when I've read some of his stuff, and he wrote this stuff that like everything is a valid expression of all that is. It exists, therefore it is valid.
Yep, I love that.
Yeah, me too. And when I read it, something like clicked in me. It was like, oh yeah, this is where. This is awesome.
Yeah, I love it. It's interesting how many people will push aside and ignore not only themselves, but other people. Or if somebody says, and of course it's the other person's responsibility to be in control of their own emotions and their own mental stability, but
Chastity, it's all your fault. What are you talking about?
It's all my fault. See, yeah. Yep, that's exactly what I was going to say. Thank you for that, because I would have explained it the long way, but that's just the bottom line. It's we have responsibilities. We have responsibilities, and
beautiful. I feel like this might be a perfect way to wrap things up.
Yeah, let's do that. Are you open next week? Do you have next Friday open?
Wow, that would be awesome. Wow,
okay,
yeah.
Let's do it.
I am much obliged.
I'm super excited. I think we've had a really great conversation so far, and this is going to help a lot of people. It's really going to help a lot of people that don't know where to start. And, like you, they didn't know where to start. And so you're searching and you feel like you're never finding. And I think that you're breaking it down really simply for people. So thank you for all of the energy that you've put into this. And I'm really excited for next week, because I can't wait to dive in more. I can't wait to see the rest of your slides.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you. And thank you so much for all the work that you are doing. You also quite literally got me unstuck. So I am extremely grateful to your work.
Thank you. It's a team effort. No matter how you look at it, we do it together. So
I love how I think in your first email, or technically it was the second, but it was like the first one, when you wrote that we each have a piece of the puzzle to offer to each other.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. And it stands true. And I'll leave everyone with this. I always pictured life as a box of color crayons. And there's this big picture called life that's not colored. And every person, when I was younger, I used to picture as a color crayon, and they would color in that portion of my picture. So I don't know, kind of a crazy thing, but it's never fully left me since I was little. So I thought that's kind of fun. Anyway, everything is awesome. A valid expression of all that is. It exists, therefore it is valid. Thank you for that, Ermont, and thank you for sharing that, Alen. And we're just going to catch up and see each other next week.
Thank Beautiful.
You. Yeah,
looking forward. Awesome.
Thank you to everybody for listening and watching, and we're going to see you next week. So see you later.
Much love, everyone. Thank you for being here. It gets better. It gets better.
It's going to be good.